I'd like to thank the Social Democrats for this excellent motion being brought to the House today. I'd like to start with a quote, and that is, "We all know the European Union was founded as a peace project." That was given less than a year ago in this chamber by Ursula von der Leyen, right there between the Minister and the Chair, where she proudly extolled the virtues of the European Union as a force for peace and a force for good, before going on to describe the virtues she thought of the Irish people, one of which was speaking of the Ireland knowing what it is to struggle for the right to exist. How absolutely hollow those patronising words ring now, given the response of Ursula von der Leyen, the most senior figure in the European Union, to what's going on in Gaza. The moral bankruptcy of the European Union's response has made me absolutely ashamed to feel European and ashamed of the European Union. Where do the limits of the European Union's desire for peace end, and what defines them? Is it the borders of Europe? Is it the slightly further borders of the European neighbourhood, which brings in the likes of Ukraine? Does it come down to the colour of your skin, your ethnicity, the religion you practice or your country traditionally practiced? Because there are limits to it, and we're seeing where those limits are in what's happening in Gaza. We have unequivocally, including in this motion, condemned the attacks of the 7th of October. And we mourned with the innocents that lost their lives that day. But we knew what was coming because Israel said it, Netanyahu said it, and our own president acknowledged it, that Israel had stated they were going to repeatedly break international law. And that is what happened from that day to this moment with the destruction of Gaza and the increased killings on the West Bank. The withdrawal of diplomatic status is not something I would instinctively support, but we've been left with no choice but to support it when it comes to the Israeli ambassador here. And it started with her accusing our president, Michael D. Higgins, of spreading misinformation when he was just repeating the facts of what her own government were saying and what they have gone on to do. They have offered nothing. They have criticised the United Nations Secretary General again for stating the facts of the situation, the facts of the death and destruction that is being writ upon the people of Gaza. We can engage at a ministerial and a political level to achieve as best we can what we need to achieve in terms of Irish citizens, hostages, our troops over there, and peacekeeping missions. But the position of the Israeli ambassador is such that it can no longer exist with diplomatic sanction in Ireland, and it must be withdrawn, and the Israeli ambassador must be sent home. It will have implications. But we as an Irish people, and going back to our so-called virtues and our struggle and our understanding, I think gives the Irish people a unique perspective within Europe to cut through an awful lot of things we see. We cut through Islamophobia, we cut through anti-Semitism, we cut through an awful lot based on our own experience, and we highlight and we can identify what is right and what is wrong. The October 7th attacks were wrong, and every attack from that day to this moment and beyond are also wrong. The killing of innocents, the not allowing aid in, not allowing medicine, 7 children overnight dying for the lack of oxygen, for the lack of the air we breathe. 137 attacks on healthcare facilities since October 7th in Gaza. These multitude of wrongs, of evils that are being carried out by the Israeli government must end. We have the perspective with which to call for that, and this motion does that very, very strongly. It is not a reckless motion. It is pushing our position out to where it should be, where the Irish people want it to be, where it should be. We have to push back against the groupthink within the European Union, which is supporting Israel in their actions. There's been 30 years of ignorance towards a peaceful solution. And that is what the last call in this motion is. After the withdrawal of diplomatic status, it's calling for working within the UN and the European Union for a path to peace in the region. We are complicit in not pursuing that over the last 30 years and allowing Hamas to do what they do, but allowing the right in Israel to take over, to increase the level of illegal settlements in the West Bank, to continue the siege of Gaza for all those decades, to ferment in Gaza a situation that only serves the right and the politics of Netanyahu in Israel, which he knows will be backed up by the Americans and by the orthodoxy in the European Union. And where is it going to end when we have no peace process and no desire for a peace process? It's going to end with the killing of Gazans, with the killing of Palestinians, with no prospect of peace. And I want to finish, if I can, on this one thing we're always thrown at from the US and the EU in particular, is that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East and it must be defended on those grounds. I'm going to set that bit aside for a second. If Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, as with any democracy, the responsibility on democracies, particularly powerful democracies with huge militaries, is to act in accordance with international law, is to lead by example, is to promote peace, not destruction and not violence. Israel has not done that in any way, shape or form. They are ashamed to the word democracy. That is not how a democracy acts. When you have that military might and you continue on a daily basis to use that to subjugate millions of people, and then after a heinous attack to then impose that military might to attack hospitals, to kill journalists, to kill children, to kill thousands and thousands of people and continue to do that, then you no longer deserve to call yourself a democracy or to pursue the so-called democratic values. We in Ireland need to be strong, we need to be stronger, we need to be where this motion is calling us to be, because that's where the Irish people are. And that is what is right. Because what is happening over there is wrong, it is pure destruction, and it is pure evil. And we fully support every aspect of this motion, and we need to send a message to Israel that we need to refer them to the International Criminal Court. We need to remove the Israeli ambassador for everything that she has done over the last month, and we need to be proper advocates for a permanent peace in the region, however long and however hard that takes. That's the role of Ireland. That's the intent of this motion. And this government, by denying that, are letting the Irish people down, and more importantly, letting the people of Gaza and Palestine down.